Though he entitled this painting Slow and Easy, Frank Hyder's creative life has been neither. Rather, his pursuit of an art that mirrors and transcends nature has been relentless, energetic, and long. Frank Hyder is not the kind of artist who at a young age picked one style and stuck to it for good. Rather, like Pablo Picasso, Hyder has explored an almost limitless number of styles, materials, and techniques over the past 4 decades. This Philadelphia-based artist now resides in Miami, and his curiosity and aesthetic searching have taken him all over the world. He told me a bit about his artistic journey.
My earliest true art-making experience was by accident. I discovered a guy who taught me how to make woodcuts, and it became a kind of foundation in my history. After that, I learned from a portrait artist how to draw heads and faces, and that became a fascination. So after I went to art school, I learned all sorts of things about figure painting, about space painting. And when I got out of art school, I began to experiment with making drawings and paintings together. I would make a painting, then make a woodcut from the painting, and then one day somebody said to me, why don't you just combine the two things? I took that as not a bad idea. I was never interested in making prints. I was only interested in carving into the block. I began to make ceramic pieces, and I began to discover that you could carve it and do things to it just like I could the wood. You could paint on it with the glazes. I started painting on wood using acrylic paint as if it was watercolor, and then carving into it, and then drawing on top of it with oil sticks and crayons. I started putting oil paint on top of that. Sometimes I didn't like the way things were going, so I would pick up the wood chips off the floor and nailed them back onto the surface, and I began to create another kind of art-making language. That evolved into enormous panels like these here in the room, which you could manipulate on the hinges. I was discovering that I was a sculptor interested in installation as much as I was a painter. I gravitate towards art that uses line more than tone. The lines led me to begin to make sculptures using bamboo when I was in the forest. That led me to sticks, creating forms that I could build out of tubing and then cover with paper and paint or print onto. Some of those you could step inside of, some you could walk on, some you could handle. When I was in the forest, I became so interested in how light went through things that I became interested in making images on translucent paper with color and putting light behind it, which if I'd have done that in art school, they would have pushed me out the front door. But when I was doing it in my studio, it made a lot of sense. I met this Cuban artist in Miami. Would I like to make a monumental balloon? and I began making inflatables. I love the idea that I could make inflatables that I could paint, that I could put into a suitcase and travel and fly from city to city and open, and it became 30 feet tall. And so for me, it's just been one thing that's kind of led me to the other. And in the end, I'm looking for some essential thing that doesn't exist in nature, but is the result of nature.
Has he fulfilled this dream of his? Has he accomplished everything he set out to? No, I don't know that he ever will. And yet, knowing Frank Hyder as I do, he will keep working at it as long as he can draw breath. I've known many artists, and none of them can top Frank Hyder for his imagination, technical innovation, and relentless pursuit of a vision of life and art.